Welcome back to Mindset English, where stories not only inspire you but help you become a better English listener and speaker. Today, we have a deeply moving and powerful tale, one that teaches us about resilience, love, and purpose. It's the story of someone who was more than just a princess. She was a woman who changed the world with her heart. Today, we dive into the life of Princess Diana. This story isn't just about royalty or fame. It's about a real human being, a woman whose kindness and courage touched millions. As we explore her life, you'll not only improve your listening and comprehension skills, but you'll also find lessons that stay with you forever. So, sit back, relax, and open your heart as we begin this remarkable journey. Diana Frances Spencer was born on July 1, 1961, in Norfolk, England. From the very beginning, something about her stood out. Even as a baby, her presence seemed special. Her family belonged to the British aristocracy, wealthy and noble, but Diana's story was not one of luxury alone. Behind the grand walls of her family estate, real emotions, real pain, and real experiences shaped her into the woman she would become. She was the fourth of 5 children, and although she had everything in terms of material comfort, Diana's early life was not perfect. Her parents, Edward John Spencer and Frances Shan Kidd, had a troubled marriage. Diana was just 7 years old when their relationship ended in divorce. The separation affected her deeply. She often described it as one of the saddest times of her life, but even at that young age, Diana began to show something powerful. She carried her pain with grace, learned how to adapt, and slowly started to build her strength from within. Despite being shy and quiet, Diana had a natural charm that people noticed immediately. There was something magical in her smile, something honest and warm in her eyes. Wherever she went, people were drawn to her, not because she was wealthy, but because she was kind. She was the kind of girl who cared for animals, played gently with children, and always offered help to anyone who needed it. Compassion wasn't something she learned, it was something she lived. Her love for others only grew as she got older. She wasn't interested in being in the spotlight. Instead, she wanted to do things that mattered. Whether it was volunteering at a local school, working with the elderly, or simply being there for a friend, Diana always gave her time generously. Her ability to feel deeply for others made her truly unique. She believed that every person, no matter their background, deserved love and dignity. In 1977, when Diana was just 16 years old, her life changed forever. That year, she met Prince Charles, the heir to the British throne. Their meeting was simple, unplanned, and yet it marked the beginning of a story the world would never forget. Charles was much older than Diana, and already living a life filled with royal duties and public expectations. Yet he was instantly drawn to Diana's innocence, beauty, and sincerity. Unlike many around him, Diana wasn't trying to impress. She was just being herself, and that made all the difference. As their relationship grew, so did the media attention. Suddenly, Diana, who had lived a relatively private life, found herself under the microscope of the British press. Cameras followed her everywhere. Journalists wrote about her daily routines, her clothes, her smiles, but through it all, Diana remained grounded. She didn't let the fame go to her head. She stayed humble, gentle, and incredibly thoughtful. While many girls her age were dreaming about becoming princesses, Diana was already becoming something greater, a role model. On July 29, 1981, the world watched in awe as Diana married Prince Charles at St. Paul's Cathedral. It was called the wedding of the century, and millions tuned in from across the globe. Diana wore a breathtaking ivory gown with a train that stretched over 25 feet. As she walked down the aisle, she looked like a vision from a fairy tale. People cried, cheered, and celebrated this modern-day princess who seemed to step right out of a dream. But while the world saw a beautiful wedding, Diana hoped for something much deeper: happy family, a loving husband, and a meaningful life. She wanted more than just royal duties. She wanted to love and be loved, to raise a family, and to help people. And soon, she became a mother, something that brought her immense joy. In 1982, Diana gave birth to her first son, Prince William. Holding him in her arms, Diana felt a kind of happiness she had never known. She was determined to give William a childhood full of love, kindness, and emotional warmth. She didn't want her children to grow up trapped in a world of rules and appearances. She wanted them to experience real life. 2 years later, in 1984, Diana gave birth to her second son, Prince Harry. Once again, the world celebrated. But behind the smiles and public appearances, Diana was facing painful struggles. Her marriage to Charles was slowly falling apart. Despite their fairy tale beginning, their relationship was filled with misunderstandings, distance, and hurt. The constant pressure of royal life, combined with media scrutiny, made things even harder. But Diana didn't let that stop her from being the incredible mother she wanted to be. She took William and Harry to amusement parks, fast food restaurants, and school events, simple places where they could be kids. She taught them compassion, humility, and the importance of being human above being royal. Her motherhood was not just about raising future kings, it was about raising good, kind men. As time passed, the cracks in her marriage grew deeper. In 1992, Diana and Charles officially separated, and by 1996, their divorce was finalized. It was one of the most talked about breakups in history. People everywhere took sides, opinions filled newspapers, and the paparazzi followed Diana relentlessly. But even in the face of public heartbreak, Diana held her head high. She didn't collapse under the weight of the world's expectations. Instead, she began a new chapter. This new phase of her life was defined not by her title, but by her purpose. No longer bound by royal protocol, Diana began to dedicate herself even more passionately to the causes she believed in. She became a powerful voice for those who had none. Whether it was comforting a child in a hospital or standing beside a person suffering from HIV/AIDS, Diana was fearless. She wasn't afraid to go where others wouldn't. She wasn't afraid to touch lives, both literally and emotionally. At a time when people were terrified of AIDS, Diana shook hands with patients and hugged them without hesitation. Her simple acts of kindness shattered stigma and sent a powerful message. Compassion is greater than fear. She brought attention to landmines by walking through minefields in protective gear not as a stunt, but as a statement. She wanted the world to see the dangers, the pain, and the innocent lives affected by violence and war. Diana used her fame for good. She didn't want to be known just for her beauty or her status. She wanted to be remembered for the lives she touched, and she succeeded. The woman who once quietly smiled in the shadows of palaces was now stepping into the light, and the world followed her not because she wore a crown, but because she wore her heart on her sleeve. She laughed, cried, loved, and hurt, just like everyone else. That vulnerability made her real. That honesty made her powerful. She wasn't perfect. She had her struggles battling an eating disorder, coping with intense loneliness, and trying to find her place in a world that often judged more than it understood, but she faced those challenges with courage. And in doing so, she gave others the strength to face their own. Her life became a reflection of what it means to turn pain into purpose. She had every reason to shut herself away, to protect herself from the constant invasion of her privacy, but instead, she opened herself to the world. She let people see not just the princess, but the person, and that's what made her unforgettable. Diana believed in the power of love, not just romantic love, but the kind that changes lives, the kind that heals wounds, lifts spirits, and gives hope to the hopeless. She carried that love with her, everywhere she went, in hospitals, in refugee camps, in landmine zones, in schools. Her love became her legacy. For those who were forgotten by society, she was a light that refused to fade. Diana was determined to make a difference in the world, and she used her fame not for personal gain, but to spotlight causes that desperately needed attention. Her charity work became not just an obligation or a duty, it became the very heart and soul of her public life. At a time when many were still afraid to touch those suffering from AIDS, Diana was unafraid. She held their hands, kissed their cheeks, and looked them in the eyes with warmth and dignity. She treated them not as statistics or news headlines, but as human beings deserving of love and care. Her actions spoke louder than any speech ever could. Through her gestures of compassion, Diana was changing the world one act of kindness at a time. In 1997, Diana made headlines once again, not for her style or her royal connections, but for her courage. She walked through an active minefield in Angola, clad in protective gear, to highlight the deadly legacy of landmines. Her steps echoed across the world, waking people up to the dangers that hidden explosives posed to children, families, and entire communities. Diana wasn't just a symbol of grace and elegance, she was a symbol of boldness, of human courage, of taking risks for the sake of others. This single act helped bring international focus to the issue. It influenced global policy discussions, spurred governments into action, and ultimately contributed to the international treaty banning landmines. Diana's willingness to take such personal risks changed lives. Many she never met and continues to do so to this day. She had found her true calling, not in titles or ceremonies, but in serving humanity with empathy and fearlessness. Despite all her accomplishments and her public strength, Diana's personal life remained full of challenges. She was a mother, first and foremost, and her love for her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, never wavered. Even after the pain of her broken marriage, Diana found renewed strength in raising her boys as a single mother. She was fiercely committed to their happiness and well-being, determined to give them as normal a life as possible. She drove them to school, took them to amusement parks, and spoke to them with honesty and love. She wanted them to understand the world beyond palace walls. She taught them not to see people as rich or poor, royal or common, but as human beings with emotions, dreams, and struggles. Her boys were her heartland. They knew it, but it wasn't just William and Harry who saw Diana's strength. The entire world did. Her vulnerability, her openness about her own struggles with depression, bulimia, and emotional pain made her relatable to millions. She didn't hide behind a perfect image. She admitted that life was hard, that she had made mistakes, that she felt lost and alone. And in doing so, she broke the silence around mental health. She helped people talk openly about the pain they carried. She showed them that it was okay to not be okay. Diana wasn't perfect, but she didn't need to be. Her courage came from her honesty, from her ability to stand tall even when her world felt like it was crumbling. That's what made her a role model. Her journey was not one of ease, it was a journey through fire. One she walked with grace. She embraced her imperfections and taught others to embrace theirs. She proved that real strength comes not from hiding our pain, but from rising above it with compassion and understanding. Then, in August 1997, just a few months after her powerful visit to Angola, tragedy struck. Diana's life was suddenly, shockingly cut short in a car crash in Paris. The world stood still. The woman who had once walked among landmines, who had hugged AIDS patients, who had lit up the world with her smile and softened it with her heart, was gone. Grief gripped the world like never before. Millions gathered outside Kensington Palace, laying flowers, lighting candles, and writing heartfelt notes. Diana's funeral was watched by more than 2 billion people around the globe, a staggering number that showed just how deeply she had touched the human spirit. But even in death, Diana was more than a headline. She was a movement, a force of compassion, a soul that had become part of something much larger. Yet Diana is not remembered for how she died. She is remembered for how she lived. She lived with purpose. She loved without limits. She gave without expectation. Her legacy continues through her sons, who have taken her message to heart. Both Prince William and Prince Harry have championed causes close to Diana's, including mental health awareness, supporting veterans, and fighting homelessness. They have often spoken about the influence their mother had on their values, their worldviews, and their lives. When Prince Harry walked through the same Angolan minefield more than 2 decades after Diana did, it was more than just was a continuation of her mission. When Prince William opens up about his mental health or speaks to grieving families, it is Diana's empathy that echoes through his words. Her legacy also lives on through the Diana, Princess of Wales Memorial Fund and numerous charities she supported. These organizations continue the work she started, funding research, supporting children's hospitals, advocating for people with HIV/AIDS, and campaigning against landmines. Her name may no longer be on the royal roster, but it is forever engraved in the hearts of those who work to bring light to the darkest corners of the world. Diana's story teaches us something profound, that the most powerful people are not those with titles or money, but those with heart. She proved that love is the most revolutionary force we have. In a world often focused on status, image, and power, Diana reminded us of what really matters: kindness, connection, and compassion. She showed us that helping someone in need is more valuable than attending a gala, that holding the hand of someone in pain is more powerful than any public speech, that true beauty comes from a soul that cares. So what can we, as listeners and learners, take from Diana's life? We learn that you don't need to be a princess to make a difference. You don't need fame to have an impact. Every act of kindness matters. Every moment of courage creates a ripple. Every time you speak up for someone, or stand by someone, or simply choose to be kind, you are following in Diana's footsteps. We learn that it's okay to feel broken, to feel overwhelmed, to struggle. What matters is how we rise. Diana taught us that strength is not about pretending to be invincible, it's about being real. It's about continuing on, with hope in your heart and love in your hands. Diana's life was not just a fairy tale. It was a journey through trials, heartbreak, discovery, and transformation. And though it ended too soon, the chapters she wrote continued to inspire millions every day. Her story lives in the quiet acts of compassion performed by people around the world, lives in every hospital ward she visited, in every charity she supported, and in every child she comforted. And now, it lives in us. As you go forward, remember her message. When life is hard, when you feel like giving up, think of Diana. Think of the strength she found in her lowest moments. Think of the love she gave when she had little left to give. And most of all, remember this: if you choose to live with purpose, with empathy, and with courage, then her legacy lives on in you. Thank you for joining us today on Mindset English. If Diana's story moved you, inspired you, or taught you something new, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more powerful stories that grow your English and your heart. Until next time, stay kind, stay strong, and never forget the power of love.